From the combined crew of blindandroidusers.com and accessibleandroid.com, it's time for your favorite Android podcast. Kick back now and enjoy another fine episode from these fanboys and gals as they navigate Android from a blindness perspective. And now, here's your crew. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 280 of the Blind Android Users Podcast. We're recording today, Saturday, April the 18th, 2026. I'm Warren here in the state of Washington, and I've got my co-host here with me here, that Constantinople boy.
It's Sally from Turkey.
And from beautiful Lebanon.
Karim Q1.
And along with us today is a friend, and he's going to be bringing us the Android journey story. We've got...
My name is Mike Arrigo, and I live in St. Louis, Missouri.
Welcome, guys, to episode 280. Coming up in this episode, we've got the following lineup. We've got announcements that's followed by the Spotlight, where we talk about Android 17 Beta 4. And then we have an app of the week, where we'll be talking about an app that we had last week, whose developer was here to talk with us about Rhodes Audio. And we conclude today's episode with my favorite segment of the podcast in general, and that will be the My Android Journey Story, where Mike will be talking to us about his Android Journey story. That's what we've got coming up. Sally, let's start with you, my man. What's going on in Turkey, Constantinople?
Well, I'm doing good here. It's been a busy week for me, really busy one. And the weather is really playing hide and seek for us. It's raining and then it's sunshine, then another rain. So we don't know what to do. Like, imagine you want to go out, it's raining. Imagine you want to stay home, it's sunny. That's it. And how are you?
You like the rainy nights, though, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
I'm doing okay. Kind of got a little bit of a cold, and but I'm okay. My wife kind of brought something back with her from Ohio. She's lost her voice.
She was back.
Yeah, so yesterday I was really struggling, but I think I'm a little bit better today. But other than that, I'm doing okay. Karen, girl, what's going on with you?
All is good here. Actually, we finally have ceasefire, which is great news for us. And things are going well. It was raining yesterday, actually. It rained heavily for a few minutes. But it was good for April to have this rain. But actually, I think that we should say goodbye to rain because I think that this, or maybe after tomorrow, will be the last time that we get some rain. I guess it should be the last one.
Do you think it's going to be a really hot summer for you guys?
Well, I hope not, but it's possible, actually. Who knows?
You're always welcome here, you know that.
Well, if you want, we can exchange. I can go live in Samsung.
It really rains a lot here.
Well, I'm glad you guys have that ceasefire, and then you've got the rain. In other words, wash away the tears. That's a nice conclusion. Mike, how are you doing in St. Louis? What's going on there in St. Louis?
I'm doing well. Our weather was crazy somewhat yesterday. We didn't get the worst of it, but there was a major severe weather outbreak. There were tornadoes in, Illinois, I think, Wisconsin, Iowa, and I think even some in Minnesota. And a lot of that started heading close to here, but I think, fortunately, it kind of fizzled out before it really got here. So all we got was some rain last night, and that was about it. So, but it was a pretty big outbreak in other places, and that's the second severe weather outbreak that we've had like in a week. So that's typical for this time of year, especially in the middle of the country, kind of in the Midwest. The weather's crazy. They always say, if you don't like it, just wait and it'll change. And especially this time of year, that is quite true, I would say. So other than that, just enjoying the weekend off work, and it's good to be here for sure.
That's good. God bless you guys in the Midwest. I just couldn't live in the Midwest. Yeah, I don't know. It's such a crazy place. Anyway, I'm hoping though that it's not going to be too hot for you guys, because that's the one thing, the humidity in the Midwest kind of drives me nuts.
It does. It does get humid. That's one of the downsides sometimes with opening the windows. It's like opening the windows, let in some fresh air, and then it's very muggy, and then I either have to run my air conditioner or my dehumidifier to get rid of the humidity, to get the humidity.
Oh my gosh. And then you try to sit outside. I mean, I visited my friends in Iowa, and outside we couldn't sit outside. So many mosquitoes that I had never seen in my whole life. It's unbelievable. I mean, in the broad daylight, lots and tons of mosquitoes. Unbelievable. So just one of those things that I really don't like.
I agree. Yeah, I wouldn't want to deal with that either. We got them here too.
Wow.
Especially in the summer. Oh yeah, absolutely.
And now the announcement segment. This is a segment dedicated to things we want you to be in the know. And now for this week's episode, here's your announcements. Let's now move on to the announcement segment. And Karine, what do we have?
We have a good news, actually, which is a giveaway. You know how much I like giveaways. The developer of Rhodes Audio gave us promo codes that people could use to get 1 month for free. So they can use the premium features for free for the period of 1 month. For anyone who wants to participate in the giveaway, as usual, just send us an email to contact us at blindandroidusers.com, and the giveaway will be open for about a week. Then we will select the winners and send the winners emails with their codes.
And of course, it's always random, so there's no favors here. We're not going to be choosing Warren's friends or anything of the sort. It's a random thing, and I don't do it. Karine does it randomly. So, guys, it's a random thing, just like a raffle or whatever the case may be.
Everyone who sends us an email telling us that they want to join the giveaway or they want to be a part and they want to test their luck, they are assigned numbers. The numbers are not sent to people who email us. We just use the numbers to select the winner randomly at the end of the giveaway.
And with that, though, we want to talk about next week, guys. That week is going to be finally here. Coming up next week, that second quarter open listener sessions coming up next week, April the 25th at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And as always, I got my sidekick, Sally. Here's the time zone czar. Sally, what do we have time-wise?
I like this. I really like this when I'm talking about different geographies. Definitely, guys. You're more than welcome next week to join us. And it's going to be 4 p.m. UTC Standard Time Zone, 5 p.m. in London, UK, 5 also in Nigeria, 6 in Central Europe, Spain, Italy, whatever you say. It's going to be 7 in Turkey, in Lebanon, in Egypt. And for those in Australia, it's going to be 1 a.m.
2 a.m.
Well, it's going to be, yeah, I'm confusing Australia. It's
2
always
a.m.
the different states, you know, it's 2 a.m.
Oh, my.
And in Beijing, if you want to be with us, it's going to be 1. Yes. And in Korea.
And I'll be greeting you, good morning, Shang Sung Hao, you know.
Exactly.
What's going to be the event?
That's going to be our second quarter open listener session. And so, Mike, you better be in there, my boy.
Yeah,
next
be
week.
here with us next week.
At the same time next week?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same time.
Mhm.
And we also
Same
have
time.
developers that come in. And
Same
so,
link or what?
No, we'll have a
No, we
different
will
link
change it.
for that. Yeah.
Oh, it changes each other. Yeah, I'd love
Yeah.
to be there.
So
Sure.
we'll
We
post
will
the
come.
link on both our email groups and Telegram groups sometime early next week.
Is there more than one email list or just the blind Android users one? That's the main one, I guess.
That's the only one we
Mhm.
got.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm super sorry to say that I forget our one of the biggest listener stands here. In India, it's gonna be 9:30.
Oh, yeah, they have a half hour different time. Yeah.
That's right. It's 9:30 p.m. in India.
PM, yeah,
So
in
if you're
India. That's
joining
right.
us, yeah.
hmm
Yeah, I'll try to be here for sure. That'd be fun.
Wonderful. Welcome to the Spotlight segment. This is a segment dedicated to interviews with developers or interesting happenings in the world of Android. And now for this week's episode, here's your Spotlight. Let's now move on to the Spotlight segment. And of course, we're talking about Android 17 Beta 4. This is the final beta, guys. Google had indicated this earlier on that the fourth beta would be the last beta. And then we'll be waiting for that final release. And maybe we'll get it sometime in June. And then, of course, we'll be coming out with Pixel 11. I hope that is the case, unlike what happened. I think it was Pixel 9 that I was kind of a little bit pissed off about. It came with an older whatever. But that's what we got. We're going to kind of talk a little bit. I'm going to be talking a little bit about some of the fixes that this came with. And so here's a little what is new and some of the fixes that came along with Android 17 Beta 4. 2 weeks ago, Google dropped Android 17 Beta 3, and 2 weeks later, we now have the final beta for Android 17, which is Beta 4. There are some few changes, probably most notably a couple of those that we have. But first, I want to apologize that I do have a cold, and so I'm not sounding like myself. But we got a couple new items in there. I think that mine came in at 1.7 gigs, but there are also several other under the hood changes or fixes, and we'll look at those as well. The first category of the two items that we can see here is app memory limits. This can be found in the developer section of the phone. Android 17 Beta 4 introduces conservative app memory limits to improve system stability. If your app is killed by these limits, applications exit info.get.description will contain this memory limiter. You can also use trigger-based profiling to capture heap dumps when limits are hit using trigger.type.anomaly. Next, background audio hardening changes. Starting in Android 17, the audio framework enforces restrictions on background audio interactions, including audio playback, audio focus requests, and volume changes APIs. Based on your feedback, we've made changes since Beta 2, including target SDK, getting while in use, FGS enforcement, and accepting alarm audio. Full details available in the updated guidance. Those are some of the new changes, and below are the fixes that come with this beta. 1. An issue where web page URLs were automatically included when sharing screenshots from capture previews, causing unwanted links to be shared with image files. 2. An accessibility issue caused the device to become completely unresponsive and unusable. 3. An issue where the media control widget could disappear or fail to navigate between multiple active media sessions. 4. An issue where Dream services failed to correctly process key events, trigger keyguard bouncer prompts, or execute service lifecycle callbacks. 5. An issue that prevented users from successfully downloading and applying cinematic or local weather wallpaper effects. 6. An issue where the device would freeze and spontaneously restart while typing in messaging applications. 7. A critical system instability issue that causes the device to hang or crash during normal usage. 8. An issue causing devices to experience significantly reduced charging speeds when approaching the 80% battery limit, resulting in long delays before the device reaches its target charge and enters bypass mode. 9. A rendering issue that caused multicolored horizontal lines to randomly obscure the device display. 10. Pulling down the notification drawer while a feedback report is in progress can cause a system UI crash and device freeze. 11. Critical system components, including Pixel Launcher and navigation, may crash or become unresponsive for several minutes after a device reboots. 12. An accessibility issue that prevents users from properly interacting with apps after minimizing and returning to a split-screen view. 13. An issue that prevented Bluetooth from being re-enabled after it was turned off via the system settings or quick settings panel. 14. Notifications marked with set silent to true may unexpectedly play alarm sounds on Android 16 when multiple notifications are present in the shade. 15. Wi-Fi analyzer applications fail to detect any available Wi-Fi signals, preventing network scanning and signal monitoring. 16. On the subject matter of accessibility, the one bug that had been persistent since Android 17 Beta 2, where the Braille display wouldn't connect after one shuts down the phone or the Braille display, is now fixed. And those are some of those changes, and I hope that with this, though, you also have a fix for some of the crashes that we've been hearing about, especially those of you running other versions of Android that had that March security patch, because we also have the security patch for April, which coincides with this. So I hope that works for you guys. But these are the changes and the fixes that we have that came with Android 17 Beta 4, which is the final one. And by the way, TalkBack 17 also comes built in with this version of Android 17 Beta 4. That's what we have. So that's what we got. And like I said, it has TalkBack 17 built in because it's the final beta. So they rolled TalkBack 17 into this one. And so if you have a qualifying Pixel anywhere from Pixel 6 through 10, you can enroll in this if you haven't. But if not, you just wait. We're not too long away from when that final one would be. But there's something, guys, that sighted people are excited about. It's only found like in the code where there's going to be like a glow of some kind. So if you get some notification, it will glow in the back. I don't know. That might require a new hardware because the back of the Pixel phone is not transparent or translucent. So I don't know how you guys are going to imagine that would be.
This is where nothing phone users will be excited. I think they will be one of the first ones to have it.
Yeah, so I think that their own tech is a little bit different from that of the Nothing phone, but I think if they're going to put it in the existing phones, they'll utilize the camera bar, and maybe they'll figure out something to,
Yeah.
emit from the camera
Oh,
bar. But I don't
they
know.
like
I'm not
those sort
excited
of
about that.
yeah, they like those sort of crazy customizations, and I'm sure the next Nothing phone will be compatible.
And another thing that I noticed in this Android 17 beta 4 is that the broken Braille support, that the Braille display that had been broken since beta 2 is fixed, where if you pair your device and then you restart the device, it just disappears. Now it works just the way that it used to. So that is good. And if you are in Korea or maybe Japan, for example, you got better keyboard and Braille support, and also those that have Braille devices, you can further customize those commands. So we got new commands that you could use in customizing your Braille device. So some of those changes are what we have, especially those of us that rely on accessibility.
Anything new in TalkBack 17?
Yes, so it has those things in TalkBack 17. So if you want, you can enroll one of your pixels in there. Mike, you got a bunch of Pixel phones, so throw one of them on the beta.
I have 3, although I never set out to get that, and I'll get to that story during the journey. I never set out to get a Pixel collection. That story had some crazy twists to it, how I ended up that way.
Welcome to my motel. So you'll be telling us that story later on.
Oh yeah. I didn't set out for that to happen that way, but yeah, it's a twisty story.
It's a beautiful thing. Up next is the App of the Week segment. This is a segment dedicated to app demonstrations. Should you have an app that you would like to demonstrate for our listeners, feel free to send us the recording of such an app demo to contact us at blindandroidusers.com. And now for this week's episode, here's your App of the Week. We now move on to the App of the Week, and this is what we talked about last week with the developer of Rhodes Audio. I promised that I was going to be doing a little demo of that. I'm not going to be going into the details, as we've talked a lot about some of the details and features of that, but basically what this is, though, is just to give you the layout of the app. And now here's that app demonstration of Rhodes Audio. Hi. Warren here for Blind Android Users Podcast. As we continue with our App of the Week series for episode 280, App of the Week, this is demonstrating Rhodes Audio, ROADS space AUDIO. In episode 279, we met with the developer of the app, Dave Feliski, where we talked about Rhodes Audio. Let me mention here in passing that in the announcement segment of this episode, we do have a giveaway of some promo codes to the lucky listeners, so stay tuned to that announcement and figure out how to enter for winning some of those promo codes. I'll be demonstrating that Rhodes Audio on my Galaxy S23 Plus running One UI 8.5 beta and Android 16.x. I am currently on the home page, that is the play page of Rhodes Audio, and will now navigate to the About and hear the description of the app, and thereafter we'll come back to the installation page and get started. Here is the About.
About this app. Heading. Google Play Store. Rhodes Audio Voice Threads. Details. Stay close to friends with real voice conversations you can send anytime. Stay close to the people who matter most even when life gets busy. Rhodes Audio helps you share real moments in your own voice at your own pace. Listen when you have a quiet minute. Reply when you are ready. Every conversation waits for you. Whether you live far apart, work different schedules, or simply do not have time for long calls, Rhodes Audio makes it easy to stay connected. Share updates, tell stories, or talk about your day in a way that feels natural and personal. Why Rhodes Audio feels different. Async voice threads. Talk when you are free. Listen when you want. Your conversations stay active without needing to coordinate schedules. For your closest people. Great for long-distance friendships, family who lives far away, and close groups who want to stay in touch. Easy, no pressure sharing. Send a quick update or a longer story. Your people can respond whenever it works for them. Real voices, real connection. Hear tone, warmth, and personality in every message. It brings conversations to life in a way text cannot. Clear and context-rich. Each voice note appears in a timeline so every reply is easy to follow. Private groups. Create small, trusted spaces with only the people you choose. Rhodes Audio helps you stay connected without the stress of scheduling a call. It brings back meaningful conversations while fitting into your life on your terms. Stay close, even apart. App info. Version 2.27.0. Updated on April 8, 2026. Downloads 500 plus downloads. Download size 17.93 megabytes. Required OS Android 7.0 and up. In-app purchases $4.99 minus $39.99 per item. Offered by One Man Startup. Released on August 10, 2023.
And that's both the description and the history of the app. I'll now navigate back though to that installation page and tap on Install.
Play Store. About this app. Heading. Install. Button. Verified by Play Protect. Navigate up. Button. Rhodes Audio, voice threads. Installing. Installing. Rhodes added to home screen.
The installation of the app is completed. And now though, before we open the app, I do want to mention here in passing that since we already talked with the developer last week in episode 279, I'll not be going into more details as we have already discussed those issues and all of that. All that I'm showing here, however, is the layout of the app and its simplistic layout. Let's now tap on that open and get started.
Open. Button. Rhodes. Sign in. Button.
We're now in the menu eye of the app, and the first thing we got set on is sign in button there on the top right corner of your phone. Let's explore as always and see what else we have here besides that sign in found on the top right corner of the phone. Moving my finger down though.
Stay close to people you don't talk to every day. Thoughtful voice messages shared privately.
And then toward the bottom of the screen, going from left to right, we got
Record a message. Button.
that's the record a message there, which is a button that it's in the middle going from left to right. Now, before we tap on that record message there at the bottom, though, let's go back to the top and tap on that sign in button and see what we encounter.
Sign in. Button.
And I'll tap here.
Close. Button.
Tapping on sign in, we highlight the close button there on the top right. And moving on down, here's what we got.
Sign in to continue.
Sign in to continue.
You'll be able to record conversations, connect with friends, create channels, leave audio comments, update your profile.
And toward the bottom across the screen there, we got a button that says
Sign in with Google. Button.
and below that, you could read the privacy
Terms and conditions. Button.
and all of that. So if you tap sign in with Google, then you'll be signing in with your Google account. I'm going to go back to the previous screen by tapping that close there on the top right corner.
Close. Button. Sign in. Button.
Now we're back to the previous screen and sitting on that sign in. Now moving though toward the bottom, I'm going to go tap on that record a message.
Record a message. Button. Back. Button.
Tapping on record a message, we're highlighting the back button on the top left corner and moving on down.
Who is this message for?
So you're going to determine who this message is going to, whether it's going to an individual or if there's sets of groups that you've created or a particular group that you've created and you want to send a message to that particular group or whatever. You make that choice. So we got
One person. Private voice message they can reply to later. Button.
or
Small group. Shared conversation for friends or family. Button.
And now I'm going to tap on individual.
One person. Private voice message they can reply to later. Button. Allow Rhodes to record audio while using the app. Button.
Tapping on that, of course, we have that familiar permission request to allow to record. And of course, if I'm going to be recording audio, I need to give it that permission to be able to use the microphone. So I'll allow it to use my mic.
Rhodes. Back. Button.
There again, we're on the top left corner with the back button highlighted. And moving on down, we've got some buttons in the middle of the phone. If you can see a little bit, there's that bright red record button there, which is typical of the record button, even on our old cassette recorders. Now moving on down.
What happened recently you think they'd find interesting?
And
Think of one person while you record. Start recording. Button.
start recording. That's that bright red button that I was talking about. And that's all that we have in the way of button here in the middle of the phone toward the bottom. And now I'll tap on that record.
Start recording. Button.
Okay, Karen girl, this is just making sure though that you are eating them apples. I'm just messing you up, girl. Welcome to episode 280. I'll now just simply double tap to stop. It's focused on that button, and simply tapping on that will stop the recording. Of course, it's recording what I'm saying right now, but I'll just double tap. All right, that stops that recording, and putting my finger down,
Continue recording at 30 seconds. Button.
it says I've recorded for 30 seconds. And so if I tap here again, I'll continue with that recording. And below that
Restart. Button.
is a restart. In other words, if I tap on that restart, I'll be canceling all that I've recorded and starting afresh. And below that, across the screen at the bottom,
Finish recording. Continue to save recording. Total duration 30 seconds. Button.
and I'll tap here saying I'm done recording.
Your message.
There we go. So I'm done recording. Now putting my finger near the top, starting from the very top, we got,
Your message.
and moving down,
Interesting thought.
it says interesting thought.
Play. Button.
And to the right of that is the play button. I'm going to try to hit the play. I'm not sure if my voice is going to come through this recording.
Pause. Button.
Okay, Karen girl, this is just making sure though that you are eating them apples. I'm just messing you up, girl. Welcome to episode 280. I'll now just simply double tap to stop. It's focused on that button, and simply tapping on that will stop the recording. Of course, it's recording what I'm saying right now, but I'll just double tap. And that was that playback of that, and that button now has become
Replay. Button.
replay button. Moving on down.
Message title label input below.
So you could actually give the message a title, and so
Clear.
that's the clear. For example, if you've typed something and you want to clear what you just typed, then you tap on that button to clear it. But below that, you got,
Message title. Required text field. Interesting thought. Edit box.
and you could just type in the description or, the title of the message and all of that. And now moving on down toward the bottom of the phone, at the bottom, if we got
Sign in to send. Button.
sign in to send, or at the bottom of that
Delete and record again. Button.
is the delete and record again. I'll tap here to delete since I'm not sending it to Karen.
Alert. Dismiss.
Tapping on that, we're being asked, hey, do you really want to delete this message, or what do you want to do?
Start over.
Let's start over.
This will delete your current recording and let you start again. Cancel. Button.
Let's cancel there toward the bottom on the left, and to the right of that
Delete and start again. Button.
is delete and start again. I'll tap here to start again.
Back. Button.
There we go. And now we're back to the menu I where we saw the recording
Start
button.
recording.
and
But
all of that. And that's all that there is to this app. It's very simplistic. And as I indicated, though, I wasn't intending on talking about a lot of the things here since we've already talked about that. So if you want to hear more about this, just simply listen to episode 279, which was the focus of that episode. And as always, thanks for listening. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you do like what we're doing. See you next time. And that's what we got about the demonstration of the Rhodes Audio. And as we indicated in the announcements, though, we're going to be giving those promo codes for the 1 month duration. So enter to win. And now it's a walk down memory lane. This is my favorite segment of the podcast. I'm talking, of course, about the Android Journey story. If you're a listener and would like to come on live and talk about your Android Journey story, but would rather record and send it to us, then contact us via email at contactus@blindandroidusers.com. And now, here's this week's episode guest to talk about their Android Journey story. And now we conclude this episode with my favorite segment of the episode, of course, that my Android Journey story. And that's why we have Mike here. Mike, it's a wonderful thing, great, beautiful thing, my friend, to see you come on to talk with us about your Android Journey story. I remember you from years ago. You are no stranger to Android. I mean, you were there earlier on. And so take us down that road, Mike, memory lane, and just let baby rip.
Indeed. Okay. So I started with a Nexus 1, actually. And that had, and I guess my history too is kind of hacking Android phones, although the first time I did that, I did it kind of out of necessity, not because I chose to. It was, so I got a Nexus 1. And this was back in the days when you needed sighted help to set up the phone and to start TalkBack. You could not do it without sighted help. And I will say, I think it took Google a long time to get where they are, longer than I think we probably would have liked, but they did get there. Just it was a bit of a kind of a bumpy road in some places, but anyway, so the Nexus 1 that I got came with Android 2.2, and I had an iPhone, let's see, what did I have? I think I had an iPhone 3GS at the time.
3GS, probably, yeah.
Yep. I've always kind of walked parallel paths, switched between the two, at least at that time. And what happened with that Nexus 1, I had heard that Google had released 2.3. Gingerbread, but my Nexus 1 never got it. I kept checking for updates, and it never came. Well, it turns out what had happened was the Nexus 1 that I bought was from the UK, and it was basically had a carrier branded firmware on it. And
maybe Vodafone or Orange or something crazy.
Like that. And it's like, okay, so I started looking, it's like, okay, how can I get the Google stock ROM on this? Well, this was back in the days when you had external storage on devices. You had SD cards. And since it was a Google ROM, I didn't have to mess with unlocking the bootloader or anything like that. Apparently, from what I read, you just got the image, put it as a zip file on an SD card. Again, I had to get sighted help, but you put into recovery and just flash it. Well, I did that. And of course, I had to wipe the phone. But then once I got everything reconnected, the 2.3 update came down instantly. It was instantaneous. So, yeah. So that was kind of my first experience, kind of tinkering with Android. And then this was back in the days when the screen reader. Again, I don't know why Google took this approach. They really should have made the touchscreen accessible out of the box. They didn't. So I would compare the first versions of accessibility on Android very much kind of like what Narrator was in the Windows 98 or Windows 7 days. It would read the focus as you moved around, but any other text on the screen that was not focusable, you could not read. Now, that was okay for a lot of things, especially having come from the Symbian platform. Oh, I loved that platform. I still miss it to an extent.
It's
for
a
some things.
beautiful one. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I like some of that stuff too.
I loved that platform. So then I kind of switched between that and the iPhone for a while. I'm trying to remember what my next Android phone was. Okay, so yes, that phone did not. Of course, the Nexus one did not have a keyboard. It had a trackball, but you really couldn't type on the touchscreen. And then there was mobile accessibility that came along, and of course made some things more accessible. They had their own keyboard that you could use to type and things like that. But at the time, to really have the best experience, you really needed a phone with ice-free shell was another thing. Yeah, that was a nice thing. It offered limited functionality. It really, looking back on it, at this point, Apple was ahead of Google in accessibility. There's no getting around it. They were.
No question.
Yeah, they were. So, but they had phones with physical keyboards at the time. There was the one that I ended up getting was the Sony Xperia. What was it? Oh, what was that? I want to say the Xperia Pro.
Was that the Z3?
No, I don't think it was the Z3. This had a slide out keyboard to it.
Yeah, most of them had back in those days. A lot of them had that slide out. I like the slide out keyboards for some reason. They were beautiful.
And then, of course, there was the HTC Cha-Cha. It was called. Now that thing looked like a BlackBerry kind of. It just had a keyboard on the front. That was a nice little phone.
I like the Cha-Cha, and then there was the HTC. What was it? HTC was.
The Desire Z was common.
Dominant.
It had a metal frame to it. It was, and the keyboard on that was nice. That had actually a little finger kind of D-pad on the front of it that you could flick up, down, left, and right, and then you pressed it to do select. That was a nice one. I had one. And I'll get to that in a moment. So
you also had a Motorola phone.
Yes,
that's another one that you did.
And
I remember which one it was.
I want to say the Moto G, but again, it was a slider keyboard.
Yeah, no, it wasn't the G, because the Moto G didn't get until 2013. The G series didn't come till 2013.
That might have been around when it was.
You had one prior. You were talking about it in one of your podcast episodes, and I know I had the Razr Max back then. I got the Max.
It wasn't the Razr.
2011.
I had two different Motorola's, and they both had QWERTY keyboards on them. And I want to say, was it the Moto M or M2 or something? I don't remember which ones they were. One thing I really got into was on some of these, and the Sony Xperia was the first one, putting a custom ROM on there, in particular Cyanogen mod. And that gave you a couple of advantages. It gave you mostly the stock Android experience, but it also would allow you to run newer versions of Android than what came with it. Sony updated that phone to 4.0 Ice Cream Sandwich. That was the first version of Android that had touchscreen access. It didn't have the accessibility focus yet. That would come next, but it did have, you could feel around on the screen, and when you found the item you wanted, you lift your finger and you tapped it. And okay, I mean, it worked. Then the biggest jump was 4.1 Jelly Bean. That's also, I think, when Google came out with the Nexus 7, and a lot of people were getting that tablet just to try the Android experience. But that's the version where we finally had where you could feel around, swipe left and right, and double tap to to activate an item. Now, there were still some issues with it. The web views were still not very accessible, but I had put CyanogenMod 4.1, and then I think I got up to 4.3, which was still kind of considered Jelly Bean, I think, onto that phone, and it was good. It was usable at that point for the most part. There were still, again, some holes with it. And then I started kind of just getting into getting phones almost for the sole purpose of seeing if I could kind of hack them and install CyanogenMod. And I got quite a few. I got, let's see, the Galaxy S3, the S4, the Desire Z, that was an HTC one. Let's see. Now the Samsungs were interesting because you really didn't have to unlock the bootloader if you got the international version. It was already unlocked. You just had to flash a custom recovery. And you could do that a couple of ways. I remember specifically with the Galaxy S3, you could use the Android platform tools, and you could install the custom recovery, and you had to type commands in the terminal, but you had to type like certain memory locations. I had to follow the instructions to a T, and it's like, if this fails, it's going to totally probably brick the device. Fortunately, it worked. So I had
I'll call it a dangerous game.
It was.
You've got to be very adept and following those instructions to the T, like you said, because if you didn't, you wound up with a little paperweight.
Pretty much. And the thing is, TalkBack did not come with the CyanogenMod. Actually, CyanogenMod did not even have the Google apps. You had to install those separately. So what I had to create,
beautiful gaps, yeah.
Yep. So what I had to do was actually create a signed, which you could do. There were apps that would do this for you. You told it what app you wanted to install. I had to create a signed zip file, basically, of TalkBack, and install that at the same time, so it would install into the system partition when the CyanogenMod was installed, so it would be able to come up talking. So that, and then let's see, what other phones did I get? The HTC One. Now that was a nice phone. Then there was the One Plus. So I had gotten a bunch of these and just put cyanogen on them and used them. And then it kind of got to the point where, I think I had a Nexus 4 and a Nexus 5. Now those were stock Androids, so I don't think I tried to put cyanogen on those, but I just left it at the Google ROM. But so then what happened is cyanogen kind of disappeared. That's now called Lineage OS. It's still around, but I think there are still people that use it, but it's not as common anymore. And I think around, what was it? I still had an iPhone at this point. I had the 5S, I think. I loved the form factor of the iPhone 5 series. Loved that form factor.
I like that small stuff.
Small rectangle. Yep.
I'm so scared of holding those because it's like it's going to fall out of my hand. Remember, I always tell this story. My friend and his wife and I went out, and we were out at the winery place. They like to kind of do that winery stuff. I don't. But then, they wanted me to take a picture of them, using her iPhone. I was so terrified because it's like the thing was going to fall out of my hand. It's so small, and I'm coming from my Android phone that I'm used to, bigger phones, from Samsung and all of that. Oh my gosh, I was terrified. No,
I could. Yeah, I was afraid you're going to drop it. And I've actually found, I'll get to that when I get to the current stuff about phone cases. But then, so it's probably around, and I think the web views had been kind of fixed at this point. But I think around, this is when two Android, phones no longer came with the physical keyboards. I think it was around like 2016, 2017, when the iPhone 8 came out. I decided, for the moment, I would still play with Android. I still play with my phones, but it wasn't my daily driver. And I did kind of go back to the iPhone for a while. I had an iPhone 8, then I had the 10R, that was an interesting. And then in 2022, I bought the iPhone SE 3rd edition, which was in the same form factor as the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 8, and used that. And then in 2023, Android 13 was out, and by this point, I was really kind of getting into robot vacuums quite a bit, and I'm still into that, and playing with those, with the different apps and things like that, and some of them worked better on the iPhone than others, and I got kind of curious, how would the Android accessibility be with these? So in 2023, I bought a Pixel 7, and that was Android 13, and I knew that you could now do the volume keys to turn on TalkBack. You didn't have to. Google went through a couple of iterations of that. At one point, I think the first gesture you had to draw some kind of odd shape on the screen or something like that to enable it, and that to me was
that was the ice cream, and not many people were successful.
That was just silly. I don't know what they were even thinking to make something like that so complicated.
You're asking a blind person to draw a rectangle.
Just as a quick detour, the other thing I did play with, I won't talk about it much because this is an Android podcast, but I did actually get when Microsoft bought out Nokia, they were doing a Windows Mobile. I did buy one of the Microsoft Lumia phones to try it with a narrator. It worked.
I still have one of those in my drawer.
Yeah, I had. It was the Lumia. I think
actually I have 2 of them
or something
I
like
got
that.
the Lumia, and I have the HTC 10. Also running Windows.
Yeah, it was Windows 10 Mobile, and it was kind of a catch-22 because there weren't a lot of apps for it because it wasn't very popular, and it wasn't very popular, so developers didn't develop apps for it. But it did work. I mean, I was able to make phone calls. I could do text. I mean, narrator was good. You could browse the web with it with Edge at the time. I mean, it was usable for what it was.
Yeah.
So I got the Pixel 7 in 2023, and I knew how to enable TalkBack, so I set it up, and it's like, oh, this is working, really, really good. Now, of course, for those who don't know, there's a very interesting thing. If you go from an iPhone, I may actually save some people some trouble if I tell this story. There is an interesting issue that happens if you go from an iPhone to an Android phone, and it relates to iMessage. And what happens is, and even if you deregister it, it's still connected. What you have to do, if you use Macs, which I do, I might be a rare breed. I think a lot of people who are diehard Mac users, which I am, probably use their iPhone pretty much for everything. I don't. I'm a Mac user and use Android quite a bit, but anyway, you have to sign out of iMessage on your Macs, and also turn off the phone number on your iPhone, and then turn off iMessage. If you don't, what will happen is when you switch over to Android, and here's the insidious part, nobody will know it's happening. What will happen is iPhone users will send you messages, and they will show as delivered, but you will never receive them. And then what happens yeah. Oh, it happens. And then Apple has a website too you can go to make sure your phone number is deregistered. I've already decided if I do decide to go back to my iPhone at some point, which at this point I'm quite happy with Android, but if I would ever do that, I'm not going to enable iMessage at all. I'm not going to go through that again. I'll just use RCS on the iPhone messages. It's too much of a hassle, and you won't know what's happening until the person actually calls you and says, "Why haven't you responded to my text messages?" And the person's like, "I haven't received any of them." That's the most
Honey,
insidious
you're
part.
ignoring me.
That's the insidious part, is you won't know it's happening.
Oh boy.
And a lot of times too, what you have to do is have an iPhone user delete the conversation thread, because it remembers, it looks up the phone number and says, "Oh, that's an iMessage, so I'll send it that way," and it doesn't realize that it's changed until
recipient.
Yep.
Yeah.
So for anyone who, if you switch from an iPhone to Android, beware of that, and talk with some iPhone friends and be like, "Hey, can you send me a message? I want to make sure I'm getting these," because if you don't, you might miss messages and not realize it until even weeks later. So, so the Pixel 7, I had gotten that, and I had no interest in installing a custom ROM at this point. Android 13 looked really good. That became my daily driver, and I was even really impressed with even some of TalkPack's features now to describe images. Even there was one app where it was able to read a CAPTCHA. Even this is before even the Gemini stuff. It had a limited ability, so it's like, yeah, this is really, really good. So that became my daily driver, and then we can go up to this year, I think. And I did want to, stay up to date with iPhone stuff, just because I'm a techie. So I did buy an iPhone 17, and I did switch to that for a few months, and it was fine. But I did find myself longing to go back to Android, because not only, I think, has Google made Android accessible, I think for some things they've actually passed up the iPhone. There are a couple of apps, in particular, Sirius XM, that works better on Android than on the iPhone, I think, and the Ecovacs app, which is some of the robot vacuums I've got, it works better on Android than the iPhone. So I really wanted to go back to Android. What kept me from doing it for a while, I would have done it sooner, was that crazy iMessage thing, trying to get my phone number deregistered off of there. And it turns out what the problem was even when you turn it off on the iPhone, if you're still signed into iMessages on your Macs, it still won't let go of the phone number. So it's like, okay, I'm doing a total purge here. Sign out of iMessage on the Macs, turn it off on the iPhone, and that finally did the trick. So how I ended up with a few different Pixels, that was not really my intent, but with the Pixel 10, Google, only in the United States though, and I'm really not a fan of this. Apple did it with the iPhone 15, but they forced you to go eSIM. No physical SIM anymore. And I really was not a fan of that. A physical SIM is just easier to transfer. I still think this for the most part. It depends on your carrier.
Because all you have to do is just take the damn old SIM card from the other phone and slap it in, right? And you're good to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas with eSIM, you sometimes have to contact the carrier. Now with the major carriers, you can do it online. However, and I understand why they do this for verification, but if, let's say, what happens is when you do an eSIM transfer, they send you a text message to your current phone, and you have to enter the code. And if your phone is broken for whatever reason and you can't receive that, then you have to contact the carrier or go to a store or something like that. Whereas if the phone was still salvageable, you could just take the SIM card and put it into a new phone. So I really, and I'm still not really a fan of forcing people to eSIM. Give people the choice.
No, I'm there with you, Mike. And I think probably one of the reasons that Google is doing this, because I was on the Google Fi since 2015, and then in late 2018, I went totally, eSIM with the Google Fi on my Pixel 3. But so what it is that when you're setting up a device, if you have a Pixel device, you have choices of those. And if you're on Google Fi, it doesn't matter whatever Pixel phone it is. It just works once you say I'm on Google Fi and you put it in, and it just works. But not the other ones. You got to get these QR codes and all that nonsense. So I can see where that frustration is. If they could just let us have that physical SIM card. I mean, I haven't been using physical SIM cards since late 2018 because I was on Fi and I didn't switch from Fi till last September when I went to US Mobile. So all these years from 2015 to 2025, I was on Google Fi.
Yeah. Now,
It's
it
very
depends on the
simple.
carrier. AT&T makes it pretty simple. You can just go to their website to the bring your own device page. You put in the IMEI of the number of the phone you're transferring to, and it works.
Yeah, so you didn't have to do that with Fi.
Yeah.
Once you choose it in the setup screen that I want to use an eSIM, and it gives you a list of carriers that have eSIM capabilities. Once you tap on Fi, you are good to go.
Right. So
That's how it should be.
Yeah, I would agree. So what I did is the Pixel 10 was out, but I wanted a phone that still took a physical SIM card. So I bought both of the last Pixel phones that would take a physical SIM, the 9 and the 9A. Those two are the last physical SIM. Now with the Pixel 10, yeah, outside of the US, though, it still had the physical SIM. That's the part that, well, okay, so that was good. So I was using my Pixel 9 then, and I was fine with it. It was Android 16, it was good. And then the Pixel 10 I found out had, well, of course, this has now come down to the older Pixels, but at the time, it wasn't. It was only on the 10. That scene description feature you demonstrated with the Pixel 10 with the camera, where you could swipe 2 fingers down.
I love that.
Me too. And at the time, it was only on the 10. Now, I don't know how far back it goes, but it does work on the 9 and 9A now also. And I don't know how far back it goes, but the other feature that is good with the 10, and only the 10 has this, was with the talkback feature. If it's an unlabeled thing, it will now use the Gemini model that's on board to describe it, which is nice. So at that point, it's like, okay, do I bite the bullet? I go eSIM even though I don't really like it, or do I just do without those features? Well, I decided I did want those features, so I did get a Pixel 10, and I did ditch the physical SIM. I still not totally happy about it, but I really wanted those features. So so that's how I ended up with the 3 Pixel phones that I've got. So now I have the 3 Pixels and an iPhone 17, and for the foreseeable future, that's the phones that I'm going to have. I have no interest in getting any other.
What a wonderful story, Mike. I always love this because you got people that their phone almost caught on fire, and I'm looking at someone in here. I had to remove the battery in order to end the call. Sally.
Well,
You do what you have to do.
It's been officially 13 years since that happened, but still, it's like yesterday.
Were the batteries removable back then, or did you have to break the phone apart to get it out?
It was removable, but what I you can just press the power button to end the call, but I was out of my mind to do that.
But you didn't know. And so
Yeah.
I was just thinking over that, and I was wondering what would have happened had you had a phone that didn't have a removable battery. But thank God
I was in
back then,
trouble.
all of
Yeah.
those things had removable battery. So, whether you remove the battery to end the call or you put it under a pillow like one of the Android Journey stories indicated, and almost caught on fire. So
Oh,
we got
dear.
all these beautiful stories of the Android journey story. And this is why it's always my favorite, because no two stories are the same. There's always something different about somebody's journey.
Now, it might
And
be
so,
fun to talk about. I
yeah.
don't know if you want to do this, but what I like better about Android.
Yeah, what are some of the things that stand out for you that you really dig
So,
outside of there?
especially with now with the AI image with picture description, which by the way, I used to use Be My Eyes quite a bit, and I still have it. I have Ally, although again I don't use it much, and I've also got Seeing AI. My big three are ChatGPT, Grok, and Gemini. And I do subscribe to those because you get access to their better models. And really for picture descriptions, you want to use the highest model that they have. That's really to get the best at description. That's what I found. And when it comes to photos, you go to the camera app. Of course, the guided frame, that whole thing is wonderful. The iPhone, it kind of has something similar where it vibrates, but it's not as good as what Android has. But when taking a picture, and then when you want to go into an AI app and give it that picture, it's just so much easier to browse because Android gives you more access to files. So you can just go to your, DCIM folder, camera folder, and then just open the file. You don't have to go through this whole photo library and share the photo. It's just so much easier on Android to do that with pictures. When you want to delete it, just go in and delete it, like deleting a file on a computer. You don't
Absolutely.
have to delete it and then go to the deleted photos album and then take it out of there. It's just, it's crazy. It's just so much easier.
Really like that. I really like this, like going to the files and deleting the file, and it's so easy. Like it takes only a couple of clicks.
Exactly. That for me is huge when it comes to Android. Another one is, if you want to, you can sideload apps. Now I know Google's going to be putting in some restrictions on that later this year, but here's the thing with that.
But it's still there, no matter
it is,
what.
And if you use ADB, the Android debug bridge, you can bypass all of that. Install that on your computer, go to a terminal or command window and just do ADB space, install space, name of the app, you're done. That's all still going to be there. With iOS, you can't do any of that. So that's another thing.
Those are great features, and what I really like is that help me edit. We talked about that a little while ago. Maybe I want to put myself next to Karen and take Sally out of it. Just Karen and I. Said take Sally out.
Well, no way.
Now, as far as Android goes, I think I would probably stick with the Pixels. I know the Samsung hardware is better, and I don't know. I've heard from people say, yeah, Samsung is, it does work, and some have said no, it's not as good. There are problems. But one thing that really is kind of a deal breaker for me with Samsung is why don't they just use Google's TalkBack? I know you can sideload it, but you shouldn't have to go through that. So I think when it comes to Android, I think I am going to be a diehard Pixel person. I don't see myself getting anything else.
You're in a motel with me, Mike. We love these Pixels. You can't get me out of. I used to be a very staunch Samsung kind of guy until 2015 when I jumped onto the Nexus 6, and my world changed from then. And you can convince me to go to Samsung unless, of course, it's using pure Google stuff and like my Galaxy S4. Other than that, no, I can't.
Well, you also get the updates quicker too. You're not going to get the updates quicker with any other brand other than a Pixel.
I mean, like we had that Braille display issue with the Galaxy some years ago, and it took them a long time to fix that. I'm not going to put myself in such
Here's that question for you guys. Then imagine you're living in a place where Pixel isn't available. Which one would you get?
Well, in that case, you have no choice.
In that case, you don't have a
exactly.
choice.
There
Then
you
you
go.
got to
Yeah, no,
do
you
what
don't
you
have
got
a
to
choice.
do.
You
You
got
know,
to
you
do
have
what
to.
you got to do. Yeah.
So I'm
Right,
asking
exactly.
for the rest of the world. Yeah.
Definitely, I'll go with a Samsung if I'm
Yeah, that's
not
what
in a
happens
place
here.
that doesn't
Yeah.
have Pixel phones. But
Mhm.
I don't know why Turkey, of all places, wouldn't have the Pixel phone. And, we have it in places that I didn't
Because
think would have it.
because Google don't want to take a risk. We have the Chinese phones dominating here.
Yeah, but the other places had, no other place had more Chinese phones than India does. India has Pixel. Yeah,
That's interesting, though.
you're nowhere near India, when it
Yeah, I
comes.
don't know why. Really don't know why.
Yeah,
I should blame on the carriers. Yeah.
exactly.
But
Exactly.
yeah, I stick with Pixels, and if anybody asks me, for what's the best Android phone to get, I always say go with the Pixel. That's the only one I recommend for, again, the updates, for the most accessible. If you can get a Pixel, that's absolutely the one to
Yeah,
get.
look, I'm on, Android 17 Beta 4 that fixed that broken whatever with Android 17 Beta 2. If I didn't have those updates, I would be toast. So, yeah, definitely for me is Pixel all the way. Well, Mike, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. And,
Let's
as
do it
always,
again sometime. I don't know
yeah,
if you'd ever
well,
be interested in doing a segment maybe on the robot vacuums, which apps works the best, what
yeah, you could.
issues you're gonna run into. Each one has their own
Yeah,
unique little quirks when it comes to accessibility. The interesting thing is, I think they're using cross-platform stuff because, for the most part, the accessibility issues that happen with a particular one happen on both Android and the iPhone. Now, the screen readers have different ways of dealing with them, but it's the same issues that you're going to run into. That's the interesting part. And each one has their own things that you have to kind of work around. So that might be a fun segment, because I've got robots from every brand pretty much.
he's got like 15 of those guys. I thought I had too
do.
many when I have only 3, and I thought I had too many, but gosh, this guy has like 15. So I think you are the vacuum junkie, Mike.
I collect vacuums. It's a hobby. I have 66 regular ones, and then I have the 15 robots.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So if you could do a segment, because we have that question coming on. So if you could do a section, record something about that, that would be good. But outside of that, remember, we have an open guest appearance. So anytime you want to come on, just let me know. We'll send you the URL. And to anyone out there, you guys remember that. We want people to come in whenever they feel like it. And so anytime anyone wants to come on to the podcast to participate with us, just let us know, and you're in with us.
Yeah, this was fun.
Well, thank you so much, and we hope we see you next week when we have that.
Yes.
Listener
Yeah,
session
I'm hoping
at
to
the
be
same
there.
time.
Yeah.
And
Once
so
we have the
just
link, absolutely.
have some fun.
This
Yeah.
is great. Yep.
Thank you so much. All good things must end. Thus, it's curtain drawing time, bringing us to the close of this week's episode. Coming up, though, we give you information on how to get hold of us. Well, folks, with that, we come to the end of this week's episode. But before we go, though, John's standing by to give you information on how you can get hold of us. John?
To contact us, simply send an email to contactus@blindandroidusers.com. If you'd prefer, you can leave a voicemail by calling +1 307 202 9797. You can join our mailing list by sending a blank email to blindandroidusers plus subscribe @groups.io. You can join our Facebook and Telegram groups or subscribe to our YouTube channel using the links in the podcast show notes or YouTube video description. And you can find all of this information and more at our website, blindandroidusers.com.
Thank you so much, John, for that information. And folks, with that, we come to the end of this week's episode. Looking forward to seeing you guys next week. Again, come and join us as we celebrate together. This would be our second quarter for 2026. From me, I want to say goodbye and keep them home fires burning.
Yeah, have a good one, everybody.
Have a great week. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening, guys. Have a great week ahead, and see you next week.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Blind Android Users Podcast. Until we see you next week, don't forget to leave us your comments and suggestions via our email contact or using any of our social media sites. Have a great week.